March 2019 has been a remarkable month. But let me first congratulate the House for passing of the RTI bill, which will bring more transparency to governance and strengthen our democracy. Thank you very much. I wish to therefore also express my sincere gratitude for the opportunity to address the House on some key recent events that have occurred as we bring the first quarter of 2019 to a close. First, the formal completion of our extended credit facility program with the IMF. Secondly, the historic €3 billion Eurobond issuance. Thirdly, the recent developments on the foreign exchange market in the city, and this week's visit of the World Bank Vice President for Africa. Mr. Speaker, see, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it? I am making a way in the wilderness. From our holy book of Isaiah. We just want, as a nation, to thank God for what He's doing. Mr. Speaker, you recall that in Section 12 of the 2019 Budget Statement and Economic Policy, I stated that we were on course to completing the extended credit facility with the International Monetary Fund. Well, Mr. Speaker, I'm glad to announce that it is now a mission accomplished. Mr. Speaker, Ghanaians who have been the victims of poor economic decisions of the past know all too well that the healing process has not been easy. It has been of the past, it has been austere, it has been tough, it has been restraining, but it was necessary. It was necessary because what had been broken had to be fixed by the Ofori-Atta government. In August 2014, the Mahama government was compelled by the outcome of its homegrown policies and economic management to turn to the IMF for a bailout. The market, indeed the business community, had lost confidence in the capacity of the government to steer the economy with the requisite competence, care, and discipline back on track. Mr. Speaker, permit me to quote what the Financial Times wrote on August 3, 2014, in a report of the headline, Ghana seeks IMF help after currency falls 40%. It reads, Ghana, the country that epitomized the Africa Rising narrative of strong economic growth and improved governance, is to seek help from the International Monetary Fund. The West African nation will turn to the fund for financial assistance after its currency plunged roughly 40% this year against the dollar. Accra's request for a bailout is likely to shake some investors, as Ghana was seen as a model of economic and political development in the continent. In 2007, under the Kufuor administration, it became the first country in sub-Saharan Africa, apart from South Africa, to tap the sovereign bond market, raising $750 million through a 10-year bond. The FT report of 2014, Mr. Speaker, reminds us further of how dire the situation was. Ghana has this year repeatedly postponed a return to the bond market, but Mr. Tebe said the country still planned a $1 billion 10-year bond. He was quoted as saying that the capital market will find our bond attractive once Ghana entered the IMF program. Even then, we needed the World Bank to provide a $400 million guarantee to support Ghana's $1 billion sovereign bond. Despite this guarantee, the 15-year Eurobond issued in 2015, unfortunately, attracted the highest coupon rate ever in Ghana's history at 10.75%. The world, Mr. Speaker, found our plunge shocking, perplexing. This was because by 2011, Ghana had begun producing oil in commercial quantities. Hopes of a better Ghana were high. Sadly, Mr. Speaker, by the end of the following year, 2012, the economy was already in a tailspin spiral by the excessive spending, particularly in the last 4 months to the 2012 general elections. This led Ghana recording a deficit of 11.5% of GDP, highest deficit on record in the Fourth Republic. The administration of President Mahama, Mr. Speaker, never recovered from that 2012 deficit. By February 2014, Mr. Speaker, the IMF was calling for urgent measures to restore macroeconomic stability. By the end of that year, Ghana's economy was characterized by rising interest rates to around 26% on short-term domestic debt, 91-day treasury bills, high policy interest rate of up to 21%, high year-on-year inflation of 17%, a cedi versus dollar depreciation of over 31%, low net international reserves of 1.8 months import cover, mounting arrears, large capital outflows, and DUMSO continue to have devastating impact on the social and economic lives of Ghanaians. Simply put, Mr. Speaker, the economy under the Mahama administration was in severe crisis. It is important to give this background, Mr. Speaker, in order. It is important to give this background, Mr. Speaker, in order for the country to understand where we were, how we got there, the pills the people have had to swallow in our committed efforts to get us out and on the go. Mr. Speaker, the economic situation left the government at the time with no choice but to sign up to a 3-year ECF program in April 2015. This entailed a total of 8 program reviews twice a year. After each successful review, an agreed amount was to be disbursed as balance of payment support to improve the country's international reserves. The total expected inflow for the 3-year period was 664.2 million, approximately $914 million. Mr. Speaker, the program primarily aimed to ensure prudent fiscal consolidation and debt sustainability, structural reform to strengthen public finances and instill fiscal discipline, restore effective inflation targeting framework to help bring inflation back into single-digit territory, and preserve financial sector stability. When the President Ofori-Atta administration took over the management of the economy, it was confronted with a very difficult choice: continue with a derailed IMF ECF program or completely abandon it due to the steep fiscal consolidation path that we needed to take. But Mr. Speaker, we chose the difficult path, the road less traveled, but sensible path to stabilize the economy. We resolved to do what we believe was a move in the national interest and fundamental to our national development goals. The economy was not in good shape, the financial sector was reeling, and we needed to rebuild the confidence of both Ghanaian and foreign investors in Ghana and our economy. Mr. Speaker, macroeconomic performance in 2016, another election year, under the previous government was characterized by excessive fiscal dominance, even worse than in 2012. The ECF program objective had been derailed, and then government only managed to complete 3 program reviews against the 6th schedule. This, Mr. Speaker, meant that there was no way Ghana could have completed the program as scheduled for April 2018. Mr. Speaker, I am indeed delighted to announce that the Executive Board of the IMF met on 20th March 2019 to approve the combined 7th and 8th reviews under the ECF-supported arrangement, bringing an end to the Extended Credit Facility Program. The final announcement Mr. Speaker, will be made on April 2nd, 2019. This successful completion immediately made available to Ghana the amount of about $185 million. This brings total cumulative disbursement under the ECF support arrangement to 664.2 million SDRs, equivalent to $934.4 million. Mr. Speaker, the Executive Board issued a statement after the board meeting in which they commended the Akufo-Addo government for putting the program back on track and achieving significant macroeconomic gains over the course of the ECF-supported program, which has resulted in a rising and broad-based GDP growth momentum, with the economy growing by 8.1% in 2017, up from 2.2% in 2015 and 3.4% in 2016, and 6.1% end quarter 3 2018 average. Effective monetary policy put in place and a sustained disinflation. Inflation now at 9.2% from 15.4% in 2016. Accelerated fiscal consolidation with deficit contraction of over 3% of Reblade's GDP from 7.3% in 2016 to 3.9% in 2018. A successful banking sector cleanup with over 1.5 million deposited funds saved. Mr. Speaker, in 27 months, President Akufo-Addo's government has achieved the following. It completed in 8 months, August 2017 to April 2018, 3 reviews compared to the 3 reviews in the previous administration. It completed 2 back-to-back combined reviews, 5th and 6th, and 7th and 8th. It completed 12 structural benchmarks. All our performance criteria were met. 7 prior actions met to conclude the program. The government's successes that significant macroeconomic gains have been achieved over the course of the ECF-supported program, and especially over the last 2 years. Some challenges remain. To ensure irreversibility, there is the need to maintain fiscal discipline and avoid off-budget expenditure and fiscal dominance. Enhance public debt management, continue the prudent monetary policy to guard against upside risk to inflation, enhance the financial system's soundness and resilience, and to implement an aggressive revenue mobilization regime. Mr. Speaker, to this end, the codification of policies into laws and systems to promote fiscal discipline, debt sustainability, and sanctioning offenders provides a strong platform to safeguard our gains and ensure irreversibility. This includes the Fiscal Responsibility Act, which will, among others, cap the fiscal deficit at 5%, whilst ensuring positive primary balance beginning from 2019 and censuring any Minister of Finance in the event of a breach. Financial Stability Advisory Council and Fiscal Responsibility Advisory Council were established to monitor the government budget for coherence and compliance. Economic Policy Coordination Committee, co-chaired by the Finance Minister and the Bank of Ghana Governor, to coordinate government's macro-fiscal policy and address any challenges facing government's economic program. Public Financial Management Act, to ensure care for the public purse with a strong sanctions regime, stricter oversight of SOEs, and mandatory timely reporting. The Tax Exemptions Bill has been laid before Parliament for passage to streamline tax exemptions and minimize its abuse. And zero central bank financing, an MOU between Bank of Ghana and Minister of Finance on zero central bank financing to government extended through 2020 to strengthen inflation targeting regime. Mr. Speaker, let me reiterate, as I indicated in the 2019 budget, that the completion of the ECF program notwithstanding, Ghana remains a member in good standing with the IMF and will continue our productive policy and technical collaboration. We do have choices within the Article 4 framework to ensure positive engagement of the IMF as a trusted advisor. Mr. Speaker, on the €3 billion Eurobond issuance, as you may recall, We stated in the 2019 budget the government's objective is to borrow at the least cost and at a prudent level of risk. In line with this, Mr. Speaker, we have managed to back the old trend by reducing the rate of debt accumulation from 22% per annum at 2016 to 14.5% as of 2018. Consequently, we sought and received your approval to issue sovereign bonds of up to $3 billion. Through an open bidding process, the government of Ghana selected 5 lead managers and 5 co-managers for the $3 billion issuance program. The lead managers advised government of Ghana to issue a Eurobond in the shortest possible time to avoid the potential turbulence we experienced in 2018. In 27 days, Mr. Speaker, the Ministry of Finance team, assisted by the Bank of Ghana, Attorney General, Ghana Secretarial Services, and others, with the lead managers and co-managers, packaged the transaction, completed due diligence, commenced and completed a roadshow, and priced the deal. This must also be a record, and I'd like to commend the team and the lead and co-managers for a job indeed well done in record time. Mr. Speaker, we embarked on a 3-day roadshow in New York, Boston, and London on Tuesday, 19th March. Ghana priced a US $3 billion tri-tranche bond with a weighted average of 7, 12, and 31 years. It is the first time Ghana has done a 3-tranche issuance. The team met with over 130 fixed income investors face-to-face and via conference calls. The deal generated strong interest with peak orders, Mr. Speaker, in excess of US $21 billion, representing an oversubscription of 7 times. Our final order book closed at $17.2 billion, which was the highest order book achieved in sub-Saharan Africa. The next largest sub-Saharan order book was Kenya's $14 billion last year. The 31-year bond, Mr. Speaker, is also the longest ever issuance in Africa. To put this in context, Ghana issued its first Eurobond in September 2007 to raise $750 million. Its order book was nearly 4 times larger. The second Eurobond was issued in 2013 for $1 billion. Its order book was only 2 times larger. Moving forward to 2015, a €1 billion Eurobond was issued, even at a high coupon rate of 10.75%. Its order book was only 2 times larger at $2 billion. The last Eurobond of the previous government of $750 million was issued in 2016. The order book was $4 billion, over 5 times larger. But this came at a high cost of 9.25% for a 6-year bond, compared to this year's 7.875% for a 7-year bond. Indeed, the size of this year's order book was truly unprecedented, especially when considering its competitive pricing. Furthermore, Mr. Speaker, this multi-tranche bond offering was Ghana's largest single transaction by nominal size since its inaugural international debut in September 2007. Leveraging the considerable demand, Ghana priced all the 3 tranches at or inside fair value as follows. A, US $750 million for a 7-year bond issued at 7.875%, US $1.25 billion for a 12-year bond issued at 8.125%, and US $1 billion for a 31-year bond issued at 8.95%. Mr. Speaker, in terms of geographic participation, the USA and UK dominated the issuance. We, however, also observed an increase in participation from Asia from less than 1% to 4%, indicating the positive results from our investor engagements within that region in 2018 and the no-deal roadshow that we embarked on. In terms of investor types, the bonds were bought mainly by asset management, 87%, followed by hedge funds, 6%, and banks, 5%. Mr. Speaker, the transaction is incredibly beneficial for Ghana for a number of reasons. It shows that the Republic of Ghana has market access to long-dated Eurobond financing insights. It confirms long-term financial support from buy and hold high-quality investors, including many first-time buyers of Ghana bonds from all 4 regions. It validates the successful completion of the IMF program and the inherent trust that many first-time buyers of Ghana's inherent trust that the investor community has in our country for the long term. The trading pattern of the bonds post-issuance confirms the fact that they were very favorably priced. Mr. Speaker, now to the city. The city suffered some turbulence during the first quarter of this year, mainly as a result of a confluence of factors, including pressure on the current account as a result of income transfers by corporates, as well as seasonal demands by importers. Portfolio reversal by investors in our country's debt, C, statistical adjustment to the exchange rate calculation by the Bank of Ghana in efforts to improve market transparency. And 4, uncertainties on the future of Ghana's conclusion of the IMF program. Mr. Speaker, this turbulence happened despite the strong economic fundamentals and improvements in our balance of payments, which our government has achieved in the last 2 years. We have done a lot of work to ensure that the economic fundamentals are robust and able to support economic growth and transformation. This is further evidenced, for example, by the following statistics. Inflation declining from 15.4% in 2016 to 9.2% in 2018. Fiscal deficit falling from 6.5% in 2016 to 3.9% in 2018. Interest rates on 91-day Treasury bill from 16.3 in 2016 to 14.6 in 2018. And current account deficit from 6.6% in 2016 to 3.2% in 2018. Mr. Speaker, it is clear from the data that appreciation of the cedi was not due to weak economic fundamentals, but rather a combination of structural rigidities and the apparent speculative behavior of portfolio investors and market participants. It is also noteworthy that while this is a challenge, the cedi has, however, performed better over the last 2 years than when compared specifically to 2012 to 2016. In 2012, the cedi depreciated by 15.95%, 12.81% in 2013, peaked at 32.45% in 2014, up to 15.6.8% in 2015, and depreciated by 9.65% in 2016. Cumulative depreciation from 2012 to 2016 was 65.423%. Between December 2017 through the whole of 2018, March 21st, 2019, the cedi had appreciated by some 17.325% compared to 25% in 2015 and 2016. Mr. Speaker, indeed, the cedi's recovery has started even before the Eurobond was issued, and if I may add, before the Vice President's visit to India. What the Eurobond issuance did was confirm the confidence because of our successful macroeconomic turnaround as well as the implementation of various policy measures. Mr. Speaker, the cedi has made great strides towards recovery on the back of the successful issue of the 3 billion Eurobond and the completion of the 7th and 8th IMF reviews, which restored confidence in the Ghanaian economy. Currently, the cedi has witnessed substantial gains with the measures we have put in place. Based on the existing sound macroeconomic fundamentals, we anticipate the stability of the cedi going forward. Indeed, the cedi has appreciated by 5.12% in March 2019 alone, as against a depreciation of 2.7% in the same period last year. It is this success, Mr. Speaker, that we need to build on and put in place the structures to strengthen the resilience of the cedi against its major trading currencies. Mr. Speaker, we recognize the need to take the following steps. A, enhance the transparency of our foreign exchange market to minimize information asymmetry and panic buying of currency by businesses and the public when there are seasonal blips in the currency. Develop our capital market, insurance, and pension industries to ensure that government domestic borrowing relies less on foreign portfolio investors. Mr. Speaker, the President has directed that I investigate the structural causes for the depreciation of the cedi and to propose measures to address the situation. The Governor and I will put a bipartisan committee together to proceed immediately. Mr. Speaker, our current progress on the economy, sustained GDP growth, and economic transformation will eventually ensure that the currency is stable over the medium term. The Bank of Ghana will remain vigilant in the short term to build adequate reserve buffers and promote market discipline in the forex market. And over the medium term, the government will ensure that we have a transformed economy that will strengthen our trade, current, and capital accounts. We believe that our current efforts to boost exports and reduce imports by diversifying and deepening the economy through industrialization and developing the agribusiness and improvements in our financial sector architecture will provide the needed scope to guarantee that our currency becomes even more resilient. In other words, Mr. Speaker, we need to grow more, manufacture more, buy Ghana, wear Ghana, see Ghana, eat Ghana, which means more kinky and fish, more wache, more TZ, more sobolo, more coconut juice, more Kantanka vehicles to make our city strong. For a proud and confident people, we should celebrate patriotism and not denigrate it. If there is ever any lesson for us, our recent success in the Eurobond market demonstrates that clear confidence that the international community has in the work that we have done. It is hard work, and we know that this confidence resonates with our vision of a Ghana beyond aid. Mr. Speaker, the visit by the World Bank Vice President for the Africa region. Mr. Speaker, as a sign of the continued confidence the international community has in our country, the World Bank Vice President for Africa, Dr. Hafez Ghanem, visited Ghana between the 24th to the 27th of March 2019. The objective of the visit was to discuss with the government and other stakeholders the World Bank's assistance program for Ghana and explore areas of future collaboration that are more transformative and supportive of the countries of Ghana beyond aid vision. The discussion centered on efforts to mobilize funds for sustainable economic transformation towards achievement of a Ghana beyond aid and of the SDGs. Specifically, areas of discussion included how Ghana can take advantage of the digital economy, building our human capital, and support for industrialization through access to downstream energy capacity. Mr. Speaker, thankfully, the World Bank Vice President indicated the bank's interest in supporting Ghana in all three areas. Specifically, on the digital economy, the bank will be interested in supporting Ghana on infrastructure and connectivity, regulations, and digital platforms to support areas such as e-government, revenue mobilization, education, and fintech. On building human capital, the World Bank support could be for a free senior high school program, quality improvements, and interventions to improve education of girls by providing incentive to parents to encourage them to keep their daughters in school rather than marry them off at such young ages. And in doing so, also reduce the incidence of stunting of children since educated mothers are more knowledgeable about nutrition. On industrialization, Dr. Ghanem indicated the bank's willingness to help Ghana take advantage of its current and protect its excess supply of power and gas by developing industries that are intensive in the use of these energy resources. Furthermore, the bank will be willing to assist Ghana to export some of its excess energy to other countries in West Africa. The bank has also indicated its willingness to increase our window by some $2 billion or so, including increase in the budget support envelope. Mr. Speaker, as I indicated during the 2019 budget statement, we recognize that while the current resources are insufficient to meet every need and every demand of every Ghanaian, there are no limitations on our collective potential. So, Mr. Speaker, we have been creative in our efforts to take Ghana beyond aid through social partnerships and harnessing our entrepreneurial spirit as a country to build infrastructure, develop industry, and support agriculture. Mr. Speaker, Ghana is doing something right, and it is time we all pulled in one direction. The Lord is indeed doing a new thing for Ghana, and we should not be afraid. It is time we build a broad consensus on what is good for the Republic. As Edmund Burke told his electors in 1774, Parliament is not a congress of ambassadors from different and hostile interests. Parliament is the deliberative assembly of one nation with one interest, that of the whole. Mr. Speaker, I believe as a nation we are witnessing God's special regard for Ghana. In a space of 1 week, we saw 21 billion rush for our Eurobond issuance. We successfully concluded an IMF program, and we are experiencing an impressive recovery of the cedi, ending with the World Bank doubling what it had intended to support us with. The Lord has indeed given us hidden treasures stored in secret places, so we all know that He is the Lord. Mr. Speaker, we intend to continue with this discipline, competence, and compassionate management of the Ghanaian economy, and we are doing so by also protecting the public purse. So much so that the Public Procurement Authority has, in the space of 24 months, made savings on procurement for goods, works, and services to the tune of 1.9 billion Ghana cedis equivalent. This, Mr. Speaker, compares favorably to the zero savings made under the previous regime. Mr. Speaker, we promise to deliver on the economy, and with the support of this House and the Ghanaian people, and with the Lord being our anchor, we shall continue to work in humility to defend our republic and make it great and strong. Mr. Speaker, let me end by sharing with you the Ministry of Finance's weekly devotion at 6:30 a.m. every Tuesday, and I invite you to that. Our mouths are filled with laughter, our tongues with songs of joy. Then it was said among many nations, the Lord has done many things for Ghana. And for me personally, Mr. Speaker, I say, praise the Lord, O my soul, all my inmost being, praise His holy name. Mr. Speaker, the country is well situated and the water is healed. Its waters are healed. Mr. Speaker, God is ready, the world is ready, we are ready. The Akufo-Addo government has shown good faith, and we humbly ask the good people of Ghana to come along with us. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.